On the morning of 9/11, the North Tower was struck first, and only one video camera that we know of caught the event on film in any detail. The clip is known as the Nordet film. Once the first tower had received its damage, emergency services and news channels were alerted. Therefore, what happened to the second tower was much more comprehensively filmed by both professional news media and members of the public. There are between 50 and 60 publicly known pieces of video showing the event which caused the damage to the South Tower. The National Institute for Standards and Technology, or NIST, produced a video containing 30 different camera angles. The following sequence is a selection of 53 video clips showing the South Tower receiving its damage. The first 30 are from the NIST video. I've speeded up the sequence to show them all within 1 minute. When studying these video clips, at first sight, some of the clips do not seem to match. Compare this clip, for example, where an object is seen coming down almost vertically, with this one, where the object is seen coming in horizontally. These apparent visual inconsistencies have led some to conclude that images of planes were inserted using computer graphics after the event. In order to analyze the videos and determine if they all do in fact match the official flight path, it was necessary to build a three-dimensional computer model of the area constructed perfectly to scale, and then overlay the various pieces of footage and see if they all match the official flight path. The model has been constructed perfectly to scale. I also included a large aerial photograph of the land, ensuring that the image was resized such that the scale on the ground was identical to the vertical scale used to measure the buildings. I added a few more landmarks, the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building. I now had a basic 3D model into which I could insert three-dimensional flight paths. An official report produced by the National Transport Safety Board entitled Radar Data Impact Speed Study by Daniel R. Boer, PhD, describes the flight path of the alleged Flight 175. The document does not contain ground position or altitude data in tabular form. Instead, it provides a map with yellow squares indicating the ground positions of radar returns. It also includes what look like hand-drawn graphs of altitude, ground speed, Mach number and magnetic heading. The first task was to transpose the data from the map onto the ground map in the 3D model. This was simply a case of resizing the map so it was exactly the same scale as the map in the model. I then carefully overlaid the ground radar map onto the model. For each of these yellow squares, an associated altitude could be determined from the altitude graph. These were then plotted in the model. I joined up the points and now had a red line representing the alleged flight path of Flight 175. The next part of the exercise was to compare this path with all known video footage. Out of the 50-odd video clips, some were unsuitable due to either bad camera shaking or the objects not being in the shot for long enough. This left 26 video clips I could use to compare with the 3D model. I put the clips in order so that each angle viewed progresses clockwise around the towers. The first video is filmed from a north-northeasterly position and shows the alleged plane entering from the right. It approximately follows the official radar path. In the next clip, we see the Empire State Building in the foreground and the alleged plane passes between the two buildings. again approximately following the official radar path. Another video clip, which appears to have been filmed just in front of the Empire State Building, shows the alleged plane travelling for over 2.5 miles or 16 seconds before it reaches the towers. Over the full 2.5 mile distance, it follows the official radar path closely. A close-up this time, the alleged plane enters from the right-hand side of the picture. A large amount of camera shake on the next video, which is why I have strobed the radar path images so as to be able to keep track of the buildings. Filmed from the ground, which makes the alleged plane's path appear almost horizontal. Next, a very famous clip from an NBC News helicopter. The path appears at about a 45-degree angle, which seems at first sight inconsistent with other clips. But the helicopter's high altitude is what makes the path appear much steeper than in other clips. This clip also has been filmed at some altitude, making the path appear almost vertical, and as we see, the alleged plane follows the path closely. At the point where the plane turns, we must bear in mind that the path has been drawn using discrete points on a graph. Therefore, when the alleged plane is between 2 points, there may be a discrepancy as seen here. A rather low quality image, but still following the official radar path. A reasonably close-up video this time, with audio from the couple filming.
What's this other jet doing? What's this other jet doing? Holy fuck!
Oh my god! Oh my god! Jesus fucking Christ!
The comment from the female immediately before the alleged plane reaches the towers could be significant.
What's this other jet doing?
She states, "What the hell is that?" Think carefully about this comment. If you live in New York, you will know what a plane looks like. The comment, "What the hell is that?" suggests to me that she was looking at something she had not seen before. Something which perhaps had the vague appearance of a plane, but was actually something quite different. In the next video, we see 5 seconds of the plane's path, which equates to just under a mile, again matching the official path. Heavy camera shake on the next one, filmed from the ground. East of the towers now, at some distance. Coming round to a southeasterly position, again filmed at a considerable distance. In this footage, the camera pans across from left to right, following the path of the alleged plane, indicating that whoever is operating the camera has seen the alleged plane. Again, the object, whatever it is following the official radar path. Another video clip where the camera operator is panning from left to right, again indicating they have seen the alleged plane. I have stitched together 3 frames to make a wide composite and plotted the path, again following approximately the 3D model. Still at an approximate southeast position, the alleged plane follows the official path closely.
Holy shit!
Next, the famous Michael Herzakani footage, a very close-up image of the alleged plane seemingly impacting on the side of the tower. I have strobed the 3D model in order to track the towers. A few points to note about this image. I will discuss the impact dynamics later, but they prove that we are not looking at a 767 plane. But another point to clear up about this clip. People have observed the left wing going behind the dark brown building, claiming this is impossible and proves the image is a fake video. If we draw the position of the dark brown building in the 3D model, we can see that the building is in fact in front of the towers. So it is perfectly correct for the plane's wing to disappear behind the building. Next, another shot showing the impact of the alleged plane. Again, the important point about this video is it shows impossible impact dynamics, proving what we are looking at is not a 767. Looking now from the west at the buildings across the Hudson River. Comparing the path in a still image due to camera shake. In this image again, the cameraman appears to have zoomed in on the alleged plane, then pans left following its path for 11 seconds, which is just under 2 miles. I've drawn the path under the wide shot and compared it to the 3D model. Again, we see correlation. This clip is shot from a long distance from a west-northwest direction. A close-up filmed from the north with visibility of just the North Tower. This shot, filmed from the ground, again demonstrates how the trajectory can appear very different at ground level, the plane seeming to go slightly upwards in its path, but we know the alleged plane path in the model is in a descent. As you have seen, I was able to show the official flight path in Daniel R. Bower's report does match the video clips recorded on 9/11. I concluded from this analysis the video images were not the result of computer graphic forgery. There are just too many camera angles to have gone round and collected all of the amateur clips without one of them falling through the net. Despite this, some researchers, who I regard as disinformers, still cling to the notion that nothing visible appeared in the sky and plane images were cut and pasted into all of the videos after the events. These researchers surely have left their Occam's razor rusting in the garden shed. In a study by Andrew Johnson of eyewitnesses near the World Trade Center, only 21 people reported seeing a plane. Of these, about half did not hear a plane. Having established that an image which looked like a plane was probably seen in the sky, let's just look at some additional facts. Here is Dr. Judy Wood, former professor of engineering mechanics, explaining her reaction to seeing the damage to the towers on television.
Well, on airplanes, the wingtip isn't even strong enough to hold fuel in it. The fuel is held further closer to the body.
Right.
What got to me was that upper wingtip slot. There was a 5-inch deep slot cut into the building. This can hold the lights on the end, but it can't slice a steel column.
Right. So the end sections of the wings would not penetrate
Right, they
the
break
box section
off.
steel girders,
As a
basically.
matter of fact, if you've been on a plane, you look out the window and read on the wing. It says no step, no step here, because the
it
wing
would
is
just
delicate
snap.
in places.
In this clip, a plane lands too heavily, illustrating just how light and fragile a plane's structure is. If we slow down two of the alleged impact videos, what is seen here is not consistent with physical impact. The plane's wings would not slice through box section steel columns, which is what seems to occur. The wings would buckle or snap, and debris would be seen falling to the ground. Some have described these impact dynamics as cartoon physics. The alleged plane shows barely any deceleration, which is also impossible. It's worth noting here, of all the video clips released showing the second impact filmed from the ground, of which there are more than 20, none were filmed by professional news media teams. Could their footage have shown more clearly the cartoon physics seen in the amateur clips? You might ask, how did the buildings get holes that are shaped like planes if the planes could not penetrate the steel columns? The Nordet clip of the North Tower sheds light on how this may have been done. Watch carefully. The alleged plane is seen to penetrate the building, and several seconds later something happens on the surface of the tower. I've stopped the action here. If we compare it with the 3D model, we can see this damage is in the position of the supposed wing hole and was created well after the alleged impact, thus creating the desired Roadrunner effect. Dr. Judy Wood, whose research concludes a directed energy weapon was used to disintegrate the towers, has looked at magnetometer data, which measures variations in the Earth's magnetic field from monitoring stations based in Alaska. This data shows at the time the first hole appears, the Earth's magnetic field fluctuates, suggesting a directed energy weapon was used to create the hole in Tower 1. Another observation I made when editing these videos was the lack of reflecting light glinting off the plane's surfaces. It was a sunny day and the images show very little reflection effects. When a plane flies at 35,000 feet, the air is much thinner than at ground level. In fact, the air at this height is 3 times thinner than at ground level. This is why commercial planes fly at such a height, because the lower air resistance allows them to achieve much higher speeds and use less fuel. So as a plane comes into land and drops altitude, it experiences more and more air resistance as it comes down. So the maximum speed at low altitude is much slower than at 35,000 feet. The following clip is researcher Jeff Hill questioning aeronautical engineering technologist Ben Eadie about the maximum speed a 767 can travel at sea level.
A 767 or something, it could, its max cruising speed, or its max speed at cruising altitude, 35,000 feet, would be about 535 miles an hour.
That's about right, yeah.
Is it possible to go that speed at sea level? Specifically, like in, say, a Boeing 767 with, like, 2 Pratt & Whitney engines.
No, it cannot. It does not have enough power.
It cannot?
It cannot.
Like, is that, like, beyond a reasonable doubt?
Oh, yeah.
How
You got
fast?
to take into account that you've got an aircraft that's optimized. So the engines have the right amount of horsepower for cruising at 30,000 feet at 500 plus miles an hour. To do that at ground level, you need 6 times that amount of power. Those engines can't put out 6 times more power. So it cannot. Absolutely not.
Absolutely 100% cannot go over 500 miles an hour at sea level. on a Boeing
Nine
7
engines.
for a Boeing 767.
That's right. Under all circumstances, I'd say an absolute resounding no.
The speed of Flight 175 given in the Daniel R. Bowes report is in the region of 580 miles per hour. I have verified this speed to be correct using the 3D model. So the impacts show impossible physics. 767s cannot travel over 500 miles per hour at low altitude. We see videos showing strangely dark-looking planes, which should look like this. And we have comments from observers who are possibly describing something other than a plane. We've also established that an image of something which had the resemblance of a plane was seen and filmed. Having seen all this evidence, people usually want to be told what was used. What were we really looking at? The true answer is, I don't know. But I will go as far as to say that it was not a 767, and whatever it was masquerading as a passenger plane. In other words, the videos were real, and the planes were at least to some degree fake. Let's repeat that. The videos were real, and the planes were to at least some degree fake. If you want me to speculate and give a hypothesis on what might have happened, here's a clip from a lecture I gave in 2014. So the question is, what were we looking at? I mean, is that? Do you believe that that is that? Are they the same? Now I'm going to give you my current theory on this, and it's only a theory, and I'm prepared to change this theory. If anyone gives me new evidence or gives me a better theory, I'm prepared to debate this theory. Right? But I've looked at all of the evidence, I've looked at all of these videos in detail, and my current theory is that there probably was something solid that was seen in the sky. I don't think it was a plane. So the most likely explanation, in my opinion, is that there was some solidness to it, but I suspect it was a missile. All right? And what we were actually seeing is some kind of fakery. People have called it a hologram. I don't use that word. I don't know what they used. But I do not believe that there was a plane in the sky. I believe that we were being tricked by whatever was seen. Now, if we just go down the premise of my theory, and as I said, I'm prepared to debate this with anyone, and I'm prepared to change my view on it, and I'm not the first person to suggest that it was a missile cloaked in an image. Right? David Shayler in 2006, as far as I'm aware, was the first person to suggest this, and that was just before he had his funny turn. So if we just go down this premise that this is possibly what it was, we can speculate as to what kind of missile. Now, as I said, the speed was 583 miles an hour, so we would need to select a missile that would travel at a subsonic speed. And I've looked at all of the common missiles that were in use in 2001. There are quite a few that would match that speed. The most common one is a Tomahawk Block 4 cruise missile. Now, I'm not saying that this did the damage on the World Trade Center. What I'm saying is I've looked at all the evidence, and I'm saying that I think this is where I am at this point in time. This is the most likely thing that occurred. Now, this missile was in service from 1983 to the present. It has a range of 1,000 miles, and it can be launched from a submarine. GPS navigation. This is what it would look like next to a 767. Now you might say, well, why do it that way, Richard? That seems crazy. Well, just think about it. We know that 9/11 was a contrived event because of the technology that was used to disintegrate the towers, proven by Dr. Judy Wood. We know it was a setup. We know it wasn't done by Arabs with beards. That's a proven fact. Right? So we know the whole thing was a fabricated event. So regarding the planes, just think about that. You're going to get a real plane, which is quite cumbersome, a 767. You're going to get passengers, you're going to get crew, you're going to get patsy terrorists. Just think how many things could go wrong with such a contrived event. Right? If you've got technology, i.e. a missile, that you can add some other technology to it to make it look like a real 767, just think how much simpler this method is. Right? These things have got onboard camera which provide imagery of the target to the commanders. They can be pre-programmed in course. GPS navigation launched from a submarine. How many people would need to know how it was done if they did it this way? Just a handful, and nothing would go wrong. But the thing that I think has gone wrong is that they've not quite got the image fakery element of it right as it's seen to impact on the side of the tower. And I think that's the reason why anyone who got a reasonably close view on their camera, CNN went round buying the rights to everyone's video cameras. One guy was paid a whole year's salary to give the rights away from what he filmed. And I think what they were doing there is they were checking to see if their illusion was okay.